Hey YouTube! So, we have pumpkin. It is time for a little pumpkin carving, as it is that time. And I literally felt that I would just wait till the very last second to carve my pumpkin because the last one I did rotted before someone, and as there's supposed to be protection element, that seems to like have a big bad omen for those types of things. So, I have already scooped out all the good stuff. I will get the seeds out of this later and do I think a little kitchen witching with those, bless them with something, I'm not quite so sure, and then go from there. So a little morning coffee, a little pumpkin carving. Last year I did a pentacle on my pumpkin, and I think instead what I'm going to do is a triple moon. Might be easy enough, we'll see. I carved pumpkins before with my friends, and she informed me that they already rotted through. And my pumpkin was very basic, just a simple little jack-o'-lantern scary face thing. While they went way more ornate with theirs, and I was like, well, that's just rude, quite honestly. You should have told me we were getting fancy. So let's see. I feel like I'm gonna need a pen. Got it. So, is anyone else feeling something very exhausted as this Samhain has come about? I have to say, my entire apartment, you can probably see in the background here how many dishes I have to do. There are a couple things I've implemented for the month of November as the holidays season comes about and the end of the spookiness comes, which I just hold on to very firmly with both hands. I've watched quite a bit of horror movies, so that's good. I still need to watch, what do I need to watch? I need to watch Nightmare Before Christmas, but I always save that one to the very end. And then I also need to watch Practical Magic. If you watched all of the Sabrina the Teenage Witch, watch Witches of Eastwick. I've watched, what else? I watched finally the movie Witch, the one spelled with 2 V's. I wanted to watch Midsommar at some point. I know that's a newer one that came out, but I also wanted to watch, what is it, that movie that came out not that long ago, and it's kind of styled as like an older film, The Love Witch. I see that all the time on like Instagram and Pinterest and stuff. And I was interested to see what that one was like and about. If you guys have seen that one, comment down below. But this whole idea of protection magic with my pumpkin is interesting because I definitely enjoy it to a certain extent, right? There's something about, I don't know, when I'm doing things on Samhain with the veil being thin and stuff, like it always, because this time of the year always feels a little more like, oh, okay, something's watching me, as I've explained before. Something could be attempting to poke in, and I would prefer not to be watched and or messed with when I'm doing certain things. And as I described in what my plans are for Samhain 2019, I definitely wanted to connect, I think, to like the primordial source, and as everything is connected, I feel like, to the primordial source, then anything could kind of poke through. So a little extra on the protection magic for Samhain, I think, is perfectly fine. Especially because normally I just don't lean so much on protection magic. I kind of innately feel that free will and the energy and the intention that we put out there makes kind of its own little firm thing of protection magic without us even really trying in some weird way. Like the reason it takes so much energy for someone to say, put a curse, a hex, what have you on somebody, or even for other entities to like tap in, is if they have malevolent intent, is because of that innate kind of protection that we all kind of walk around with us energetically. And simply just put, it's just the fact that we aren't focused on the thing that could possibly hurt us. We're focused on our own damn selves. You know what I mean? Like, it's in my mind, it's like if someone kind of gives you a nasty look from across the street, but you're not even paying attention to them, so you don't even notice it. Like, that's kind of, I feel like a lot of some of these quote unquote smaller infractional things happen when it comes to magic, in a sense. Like, so much of it is just like, I'm not even paying attention to you, so it's gonna have 0 effect on me, absolute 0, as opposed to where there are some things that I think are quote unquote bigger, and by that I mean, like, I would compare that type of magic of ill intent to be like someone just glaring at me across the street. Like, I don't care about their negative intention whatsoever, it's not going to affect me if I'm not paying attention. Versus there's some magic that's like a goddamn semi-truck barreling down at me, about to run me over. And regardless of whether I'm paying attention or not, if anything, paying attention helps me to avoid the semi-truck. And I think there's definitely times where it's like, okay, we need to be wary of the semi-truck. We don't need to worry so much about every small little thing that could cause some sort of magical problem, if that makes sense, if that analogy works. Let me know down below if that works for y'all. I'm also kind of happy that this Halloween's near a new moon, not a full moon. I've always felt way more connected to the new moon, the whole idea of a new cycle, starting things. I know it feels very clean slatey to me, whereas the full moon feels more of a sign of completion. Like I do, if I'm following spells the moon, I definitely do a whole like enacting of something on the new moon, and then I feel like it kind of comes to completion energy wise of building at the full moon, and then at the next new moon within that waning period I should see it at some point manifested in my life. That's kind of how my moon spells work. So hopefully that'll turn out right. See how my carving skills have improved. So I do kind of wonder though, how's everyone else feeling about stuff in general with how Halloween is going for you. Spooky season as Samhain comes about. Have you done a lot of spells? Have you felt a little too, I don't know, maybe overwhelmed by this season? I have noticed, it's interesting, a mix of feelings. Some people are really feeling into the season, and I definitely did in the very beginning, but I can feel the energy definitely. Like, it feels like I put so much energy in the beginning of the season, and now this part of the season is just a bit much. But I think that's kind of just normal when you come to a completion part of a cycle, right? Like Samhain for me is kind of like the closing of the book of this past energetic, I guess, year. You know, the whole Witch's New Year thing. I definitely feel that. Like, it feels like, oh, that was so much fun, we're closing of the year, you get all excited, and then as the party really does come to an end, you're like, yeah, we're done now, right? Like, we're good. I think it's a little bit easier than carving a pentacle. I hope all you witches know that if you don't want to do something on Samhain, like, it's just the same as any other freaking moment within the wheel of the year. And there's plenty of people who don't even celebrate the wheel at all. You don't have to do something major on Samhain if you don't want to. Like, I think that's one thing that I always like to remind people. And sometimes, like, when I get all wrapped up in how I feel about things, like, Yule is a big deal to me. Samhain's a big deal to me. All the harvest festivals near the fall, end of the year really matter to me. And then I think definitely around the summertime, I just like barely put out anything. Ostara matters to me somewhat. Easter and that whole time was always, it's a weird mix. It has a lot of like childhood energy for me, the whole like the bunny, the finding the eggs thing. But I don't know, I always had really awful Easters. There was a lot of times where I felt abandoned on Easters, which it's funny because there's probably only one time where I'm like, yeah, Easter wasn't spent with my family. So it's very, very interesting that I feel that come up. It could be tied to a certain relationship, but anyway, reclaiming it for myself within the pagan associations with that time of the year really helped, and so that really, really matters to me. But kind of the rest of the Sabbats outside of that don't, you know what I mean? Like the spring equinox, fall equinox matter to me. The winter solstice matters to me. Summer solstice, quite honestly, it comes, it goes, and I'm just like, okay. Other than like a huge thank you that it's finally on the darker half of the year after the summer solstice, they don't really matter all that much. And so maybe Samhain's that for you. Maybe you're a witch who's like, you know what, it's just not my jam. Spooky time, not my jam. Or maybe it is your jam, but you're like, I don't need to do this whole elaborate thing. That, you know, just don't guilt yourself. Do what you want to do. One of the things I absolutely love about it, and kind of have to remind myself, and I feel like I need to remind everyone else too, is just, it doesn't need to be complicated. Half the wonderful things about witchcraft is the customizable aspect. So it's a lot of times just being self-aware about what you want to do for a Sabbat, what works for you with your magic, what works for you in your craft and practice and spiritual path. It doesn't gotta mold to anybody else's. You can get ideas, be inspired, it's always fun. One of my favorite things to do right now is I actually like clicking on a lot of different gothic channels, just seeing how they're decorating, because I don't know, I forget to put the macabre part into certain aspects of my craft. Like, it feels like it just escapes my notice sometimes, which is interesting because the macabre aesthetic really appeals to me. And then there's a lot of just, I don't know, the dark or that type of gritty part, when I see it aesthetically, definitely triggers more of that primordial call, and like something about it, the whole like facing death, looking into things that make us feel a little and then like kind of looking into that, it's like interesting. It just makes me feel a little bit like, ooh, you know, that seems to connect to the primordial. It kind of seems to like come the full circle, right? You know what I mean? Ooh, how in the world am I gonna curve? That's why we have the paring knife. We'll clean it up later. It can be choppy right now. And like drawing inspiration for things outside of paganism for maybe your witchcraft, your spiritual path, whatever, I think is interesting too, right? sometimes I think we feel like, oh, well, if it's not within the binds of the thing, then we can't use it or enjoy it, or I don't know. That's one thing where it's like, I thoroughly enjoy so many things that do have to do with witchcraft or have like any sort of touch on it type of stuff, right? Especially during this time of the year. But sometimes I will then discard the more playful things for silly reasons, just because I'm like, oh, well, that's not serious enough. That's not witchy, so I shouldn't be even touching it during the fall time. And it's like, no, why? Why is that the feeling? I definitely like the idea of things being seasonal though. Like, I've been very much enjoying having pumpkin goddamn everything right now. Because it's in season, and I really enjoy the taste of the fall foods. I'm definitely that girl where everyone's like, all basic bitches love fall. It's like, yes, basic bitch right here. Add on the witch, basic bitch witch, and yep. And I will be doing a live later on tonight, so. And I think the discussion on the live will be interesting, because I think there's a lot of things that are ruminating around over what I want to do in the future of this channel, and then also just kind of like, I don't know, thoughts I have on YouTube in general, you know, things. It's interesting because I recently hit 6,000 subscribers on this channel, which is still, every time it hits one of those milestones, it just feels weird. Like, my thing used to always be, imagine that many people coming to see me speak live, right? Like, and even though that's not like a direct translation, not all of you that watch this channel or even subscribe to this channel would do that, right? But like, it just imagined me like, oh my god, 6,000 people heard what I had to say and thought, yes. Like, that's just very, very weird to me. And when I started this channel, it wasn't like that, but I figure I'll talk more about that on the live, because sometimes when I have a lot of thoughts, doing a little bit of word vomit and just coming out with it is best. Oh no, I think I've got my top of my pumpkin stuck in here now. Help me gonna poke this out. More of a stem. There we go. Just poke it with a knife, it's fine. Alright, let's see. Can I just poke you out now? I mean, that by itself kind of looks cool, right? Oh, if only I could keep you. Maybe I'll bake just you and eat you or something. That'll be funny. This is a little pie pumpkin, so end result is huzzah. That actually turned out pretty damn well. I considered putting a pentacle in the middle of the pumpkin, but like, honestly, do we really need to be that crazy about it? I don't think so. So, well, I think I'll be able to just stick a tea light right there without having to worry about this top or not. And we'll just lower you down here in a sec. Voila! So here's my little pumpkin. I'll put a little verbal blessing, maybe a little bit of I'll rub some lemon juice on it. I think that it supposedly helps it from rotting or whatever for too long. Again, I just need it to last through Samhain, which is literally in a few days, so it should be fine. But I'll use that lemon juice or vinegar, I can't remember which one it is. Just rub down the pumpkin with a little blessing with that, and then that'll be a good little protection spot. And I'll then put it on my altar and have some fun there. So yeah, I'm in the fridge. But I will see y'all later tonight for my little live, if you can make it. Bye-bye.